Part two. Who was not with us for part one? Everyone was here. Okay, probably. But you know Queen Kunti. Part two. Where we ended part one, a little refresher so we know where we're beginning is part two with part two. The House of Lack. Yes? House of Lack. So Kunti and her 5 sons were participating together at an annual festival not far from Hastinapur. And Purochana, a pyromaniac, had a bright idea. Let's burn them in a fire. So he built a house that would instantly ignite because it was constructed in such a way with shellac or lac that you touch a match to it, the whole thing goes in flames. But Vidura knew the plan. So in a puzzle-like way, Vidura explained to Yudhishthira what the plan was to burn them in a fire. And then the prevention or the remedy was he would have someone come. He didn't say all this. He just said it in a riddle that Yudhishthira understood. Vidura sent a man whose profession it was to dig tunnels for mines, for mining. And in the floor of the House of Lac, he dug a tunnel that went right to the Ganges. And then on the other side of the Ganges, Bhima took all the family members across the Ganges and to a place of safety. Well, it wasn't exactly quite right away to a place of safety because while in the dead of night all the Pandavas were sleeping, Hidimba, a Rakshasa, you know what a Rakshasa is? Yeah, they're cannibals. They eat people. That's their favorite. So big Hidimba wanted to eat the sleeping Pandavas and Kunti. And Bhima did a battle with him. Bhima defeated him. And Hidimba had a sister. Hidimba's sister was named Hidimbi. Good. You guys know this stuff, huh? Hidimbi? You've heard her name? Okay. So she liked Bhima. So Bhima directed her to speak to Yudhishthira, his elder brother. She went right to Yudhishthira. I want to marry him. And Yudhishthira looked at Kunti and whoa. And he explained the system of marriage for royal family members. She said, yes, I can comply. So they were married in Rakshasa style, which means just by mutual consent. And in time, a son was born of Hidimbi and Bhima. Ghototkacha, you know the name. Good for you. Okay. Later, Ghototkacha, being very, very, very loyal, faithful to the Pandavas, particularly to Bhima, he was the one assigned to do battle with Karna. There's detail, but that's no. Ghototkacha lost his life to Karna. Karna was a very powerful warrior. But Karna had been given this mystical weapon by the sun god, Indra. Right, Indra. Thank you. By Indra. That he could use it once. And once he used it, it had to be given back. So he used it against Gatotkacha and he couldn't use it again. So Gatotkacha was born. They're in the forest. They know that Duryodhana and all of his brothers, they think that they died in the fire. Vyasadeva met them in the forest and said something to the effect, I'm by nature, I'm equal to all, but when I see the hardship and harassment that the Pandavas are undergoing again and again, you have my favor. So I make this recommendation. You stay unknown, incognito. Go to this place called Ekachakra. I'll take you there. And you stay there incognito until I come back and get you. So they went. And in Ekachakra, there was a problem. There's always a problem. And there was a demon off in the woods area, and his name was Baka. And he was also a Rakshasa. He was a cannibal. So the people of Ekachakra made a truce with him. The truce was 1 day per month, we'll send a whole ox load of a cart load. You can eat the horse, or the oxen. You can eat the driver. You can eat all the stuff there, but leave us alone. So he was happy. I don't have to go chase after my meal. So, and Bhima defeated him, long story short. Bhima defeated Baka. Vyasadeva, this is where we ended yesterday, or 2 days ago, part 1. Vyasadeva said, hey, good news. I think it's time for you to go back to Hastinapur and you let them know that you're still alive. But when you go, here's a nice opportunity for you all. What's that? The daughter of Drupada, named Draupadi, is having her Swayamvar. And I think you should all participate in her Swayamvar. They liked that idea. Yeah, because it's Vyasa's idea. They like Vyas. They trusted him. And so they went back, and that's where we're beginning part 2. Draupadi Swayamvar. But meanwhile, the other kings, particularly Duryodhana and his royal family, they think they're dead. And I want to make a correction because I did a little research from yesterday, and I've been speaking incorrectly. So I'd like to correct that incorrect. Twice, Krishna got on a chariot and went from, one case it was Indraprastha back to Dwarka. Another case is from Hastinapur back to Dwarka. There were 2 departures. So Kunti's prayers came at the second departure, after the Kurukshetra battle and everything was all done. Then this is the scene, the painting of Kunti's prayers. Okay, so here's some little images. Rajasuya sacrifice that had already taken place. No, it hadn't already taken place. After the Rajasuya sacrifice, the dice game, Draupadi being disgraced. So here's the 5 Pandavas came to the Swayamvar of Draupadi. And the arrangement, in one case, the princess could choose who she would marry. In this case, she made a competition that only a very, very, very qualified Kshatriya could succeed. You know the story. There's a little drawing. Down the bottom, there's a pool of water. The pool of water was made to move, so the ripples on the water would make it difficult to see the reflection of what's up above. And what's up above was a disc. You see up top, there's a disc that was moving in a circular motion. There's a little hole in that disc, and on the other side of the disc was a metal fish. And the idea was the king or the suitor, the one that wanted to marry Draupadi, had to look only at the water, the reflection in the water that's moving, or rippling water, and see the revolving disc up above in intervals, and the revolving disc move with that little hole in the revolving disc. They could see the target, and then they have to pierce the target. And the target, on the other side of the target was a fish, not a real fish, a metal fish. And that was whoever could do that could become the husband of Draupadi. What a nice way to get married, huh, ladies? Shoo. So her father made the pronouncement, there she is, Draupadi, beautiful Draupadi. And the kings assembled, there's the bow, there's the water, there's the fish, and the challenge was made, or the opportunity was made, the Swayamvar challenge. So prince after king after different eligible people tried and failed. Arjun showed up. Arjun showed up, and lo and behold, there's Krishna and Balaram. They were also there. And so Arjuna requested, he was given the permission. There's the king on our left, Drupad, and looking at the reflection in the water, he looked at the golden fish up in the ceiling through the revolving disc, and there's Draupadi raiding with her garland. Her complexion is darkish in color. And this is another painting of the same, very celebrated. Krishna is watching carefully. And this other drawing, he's cheating. He's looking up the target. That's the artist cheated, not Arjun cheated. And sure enough, he pierced the target, that little hole in the revolving disc, and the eye of the fish was pierced. This metal fish came clanging down, and everyone was in disbelief. Now, Arjun, very handsome, very this and very that. Draupadi was very happy. There goes Draupadi, ready to put the garland around the victor, the man that was going to become her husband, who she had never met before. And there she is, giving the garland. She's very happy. He's very happy. And what happens in occasions like this, there are persons that contest. There was a battle. And when the battle took place, it's not only Arjun could fight, but you see with the trunk of a tree, you know what that is. And so they did battle. There's Draupadi in the background. And at the end, Arjun, not yet married, but pledged to be married to Arjuna. So they, the five brothers, went to where Kunti was staying, because she was in a separate residential place waiting for them to finish with this Draupadi Swayamvar activity. And when they came, they were outside the room, and they announced to the mother, guess what? We received some alms. Just see the wonderful jewel we have obtained today. They hadn't seen, she was not seeing them, they were not seeing her. She just said this through the doorway. Or Arjun said this through the doorway. And she was very happy. She was worried about their well-being. Their mothers worries a lot anyways. So she was worrying about her sons, and when this heard her voice of her son, she was very happy, filled with relief and happiness to hear her son's voice. Kunti said, "Share among yourselves whatever you have acquired." Mother said. And mother, she was saying it, in a certain circumstance, but the boys of their mother, the children of their mother, they were very obedient to what their mother said. So now they're perplexed, and not only they're perplexed, Draupadi's perplexed. How am I supposed to marry 5 men? Who ever heard of anything like this? So there was no marriage yet, but there was the complexity of the situation. And so she, being the daughter, wanted to find out from her father, what did her father have to say? Without permission of her father, she couldn't do. Arjun won the competition. There he is with the garland. But now what Kunti said, what to do. So the 5 brothers and Kunti, they went to Drupad's home. And while they were there with Drupad, Vyasadeva was also there, kind of like the referee or the Brahmin judge or something like that. So it was done very diplomatically. Drupad was invited by Vyas, that he heard the whole situation. He wanted to speak in a private, separate room. So Vyasadeva rose and took hold of Drupad's hand. They went into the king's chamber while everyone waited outside. When they were alone, Vyasadeva explained to the king why the marriage conformed with virtue. You all know this story. So here's straight. The ascetic, Vyas, told Drupad that Draupadi had been the daughter of a rishi in a previous life. She prayed to Shiva for a husband. In her prayer, she had asked Shiva 5 times for a powerful husband. Shiva had replied, "Since you have asked me 5 times, in your next birth you shall have 5 husbands." So Vyas is narrating this to Drupad, confirming that Shiva could not possibly ordain a sinful act. So Vyasadeva is the Trikalagya person, past, present, future. He explained further that she, his daughter, who rose from a fire, sacrificial fire, she was an expansion of the goddess Lakshmi. How fortunate to have such a daughter. And not only that, she appeared from the sacrificial fire to become the Pandava's wife. Vyas is telling all this. And Vyas has others have full confidence in Vyas. And then in addition, wasn't done yet, Vyas gave a divine vision for Drupad to see each of the celestial forms of the personalities who these boys were the sons of. Their celestial bodies adorned with golden crowns and garlands. What a vision. Struck with wonder, Drupad folded his palms and said to the sage, "Yes, oh, great Rishi, there is nothing outside your knowledge or capabilities. My mind is now satisfied. What has been ordained by the celestials must always come to pass. We are all instruments in the hands of destiny that my daughter accept all 5 brothers as her husbands." So 3. Drupad, Vyas, and Lord Shiva. So she's ready to go. If one lady married to 5 men. Unheard of. So here's a little drawing. There's the assembly, there's Vyas in his nice seat. There's Drupad, and there's the 5 brothers. There's Vyas giving this darshan of the 5 sons or 5 brothers and who they were as celestials or sons of the celestials. Although rare, such an act need not be unrighteous if sanctioned by an authority like Vyas, especially if it was performed in order to preserve some other higher religious purpose. So now Yudhisthira is giving his consent also. If Draupadi became the wife of only one of them, it would most certainly create rivalry and dissension among them. And Kunti's words would also become false. This seemed to be a divine arrangement. Making up his mind, Yudhisthira said, "We shall all marry the blessed Draupadi." So what kind of a wedding was that one like? Big, 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 big wedding, big, 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 big festivities. It's all taking place in the palace of Drupad. Now, mind you, the Kauravas back in Hastinapur, they were previously thinking they're dead. Now they're not only not dead, but they won the hand of Draupadi. And there's big, 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 big marriage in Drupad's palace in Kampilia. So one of the residents of Hastinapur, namely Vidura, he went to that kingdom, the kingdom of Drupad, and invited the Pandavas to come back. Now that it was known that they weren't dead, and there was some understanding of the scheme, the murder plot to kill them, people came to know this, would-be king, he's a murderer or attempted murderer. And he has his accomplices, they're criminals, they're gangsters. So the Pandavas came back at Vidura's request, and when they were received, they were loved by many people, then disliked by a few, headed by Duryodhana. So Dhritarashtra was in a bind. He wanted his sons to become the next king. Yudhisthira is entitled to become the next king. So he just decided, we had discussed this a little bit, he divided the kingdom in half. You guys get the forest, we'll take the city. See you later. So Kandavaprastha was the kingdom. That what shows here is the big palace, because the big palace came as the next event that we'll be discussing. And the next event had to do with Agni had indigestion. And it was like not just mild, it was very serious indigestion, because too many yajnas by the brahmanas performing yajna, too much ghee, indigestion. So he needed some medicine. He knew the medicine. The medicine was present in the Kandava forest. So he being the god of fire, he knew how to take that medicine, the herbs and the this and the that, just start a forest fire. But every time he tried to start a forest fire, he had a competitor, Indra. And Indra would pour buckets of rain, and he couldn't burn the forest. So Agni made a request of Krishna and Arjuna. Help. Protect me. And they were all, Arjuna and Krishna were in favor, because it was known that in this forest there were Rakshasas and Danavas and bad people meant to be killed anyways. So if there was a forest fire, then it would flush them out of the forest, and then with Arjuna with his arrows and Krishna with the Sudarshan Chakra could chop them. Good so far? Then what happened? Well, the fire started. And when the fire started, there was Arjuna and Krishna, and keeping with arrows and Sudarshan Chakra, keeping the forest, the downpour of rain from taking place. And when demons would come out, they would kill them. There was, according to Mahabharata, there were 5 that escaped. And one of them that escaped, his name was Mayadanava. Right? Who's Mayadanava? Mayadanava was an architect. Just like amongst the Devas, there's an architect. What's the architect's name? So with one of these 3 boys sitting in the front row, or you can, this young girl, do you know the answer to that? Who's the architect of the demigod? Starts with a V. Vishvakarma. Heard his name? Vishvakarma. You know who built at Krishna's request? Who built Dwarka? His name starts with a V. He's very expert, very expert. And the Danavas, that's the darker, side of population. He was also an architect, a fabulous architect. So when he came out of the forest, Krishna was going to chop him with a chopper, the Sudarshan Chakra. Mayadanava was smart. He fell at the feet, literally, fell at the feet of Arjuna. Protect me. Arjuna said yes, because Kshatriya, someone surrenders, you give them shelter. Same thing happened. Where's another situation where this same type of thing happened? Maharaj Parikshit and the personality of Kali, right? You know that story? No? Little bit? No. You know who was Maharaj Parikshit? Yeah. Maharaj Parikshit was on tour. Kingdom sees as everything going in proper order. And much to his surprise, there was this fellow with a club in his hand, smashing and breaking. He had 4 legs of a bull broken. Immediately, Maharaj Parikshit drew his sword, ready to chop him. In my kingdom, this doesn't happen. What are you doing? That was Kali. The personality of Kali, the personality of this age is the personality of Kali. And he was the one that was breaking the leg of the bull. Personality of Kali. And so he took shelter of Maharaj Parikshit and saying, I am taking shelter of you. You are the king. The king gives protection of one who takes shelter. Give me protection. Don't chop me. And that's what kings give shelter to those who take shelter. So the king said, well, I'll give you shelter, but this sinful activity has to stop. Yes. No, give me a place to stay. All right. You can stay where people are doing sinful activities, but there's no sinful activities in your whole kingdom. What are he indicates, because there are 4 legs of the bull. It's kind of metaphorical and kind of historical. The 4 legs of a bull are the pillars of religiosity. The sinful activities are, when sinful activities are present, let's say it both ways. When sinful activities are performed, then Dharma, the bull of Dharma, can't stand. But that the bull of Dharma can stand when these sinful activities are avoided or neglected. Intoxication, meat eating, illicit sex, and gambling. You've heard these 4. Yes? You've heard these 4? The 4 regular principles that we follow? You never heard them? Come on. You've heard it. Yeah, okay. But the standard ISKCON stuff. We don't eat meat. We don't take intoxication. We don't engage in illicit sex. We don't gamble. Yeah, those are those four. Okay, so there's the when those principles are observed, the bowl of Dharma is preserved. When those four are violated, that's what Kali was doing. He was breaking the legs of the bull. Then he asked, I want your shelter. Give me a place to stay. And when these four things are these four prohibitions are going on, you can stay there. And Kali said, well, none of that goes on in your kingdom, so that's not a place to stay. Give me a place to stay. Maharaj Pariksit said, very well. Maharaj Pariksit, we'll come back to the Bhagavatam in a moment. Maharaj Pariksit said, where there's hoarding of gold, you'll find these things. Intoxication, illicit sex, meat eating, and gambling. Where there's hoarding of gold, these four things are going to be going on. He said, very good. I'll go there, where there's hoarding of gold. So that's an example when someone, in this case, the personality Kali, takes shelter of a king, like Maharaj Pariksit. The king gives shelter. So Maya Danava took shelter of Arjuna. Krishna was pleased. He's taking shelter of my devotee. I was ready to chop him, but he's taking shelter of my devotee. So he withdrew his Sudarshan chakra. And as you see on the screen here, there's Maya Danava with his palms folded. And he said to Arjuna, you saved my life. I'm feeling very indebted to you. I'd like to do something for you. Is there something I can do for you? And Arjuna said, a Kshatriya doesn't protect people to get something. That's like bribery. We don't do that. Thanks, but no thanks. I just protect. I don't do to get something. And Krishna said, ask for something. I'll tell you what to ask for. You, Pandavas, and Kunti have been given a forest, but there's no place for you to live. Mayadanava is an architect. He can build you a nice place. There's some remaining parts of the forest left. So have him build you a palace. Not just a house, but a palace. So Mayadanava was very, very happy. So he had to gather the ingredients, to build a palace, you got to have ingredients. So he went back to the place that he knew where he could get the ingredients. And one of them was the king of the Danavas could help him gather the ingredients to build a palace for the Pandavas, or Yudhisthira and Arjuna, etc. Now the camera's in the way. I'll just lean this way when I want to see you. Because eye contact is important. But now I can see her better. So here's a quiz question for the kids again. Krishna had a conch shell. What's the name of that conch shell? The Panchajanya conch shell came from where? You know the answer. When Krishna rescued the son of Sandipani Muni. Sandipani Muni? Yes? No? Maybe? Sandipani Muni was Krishna's teacher when he was a little boy. He went to school. And his teacher's name was Sandipani Muni. And after finishing, they finished their entire course of study in 2 months. Not bad. They graduated from kiddie school in 2 months. Brahmin school. So Krishna wanted to give some dakshin. to Sandipani Muni. And he said, yes, uh, um, could you bring back my son? He died. Find my son. So Krishna, yes, there's a long story, but it was said that he had gone to the sea and Panchajanya, a conch demon, had swallowed his son. So he went and found Panchajanya, punched him out, but his son was not there within the shell's body. So Krishna now has a Panchajanya shell. But there was another important conch. The other important conch was Devadatta. Devadatta was another conch shell that Maya Danava secured from the king of the Danavas, plus the king of the Danavas had a club. And who is really good with clubs? Starts with a B. Yeah, Bhima. Bhima? Club, Bhima. So that club has a name, and he gave the club to Bhima, and he gave the Devadatta conch, and he got all these ingredients to build a big palace. And there's the big palace over there on the left, and it's a big palace. And it's a mystical kind of a palace, because he's not just a regular architect, he's a Maya Danava architect. So it had features where land looked like water and water looked like land. And as you see in this little drawing, there's a little pond. But actually, the little pond was land, and that which looked like land was a pond. So when this big, fantastic palace was built, they invited all the citizens of Hastinapur to come and check out their new palace. Housewarming. With brahmanas and the whole thing. So you know the story. You kids, you know the story. What happened when Duryodhana was walking through this palace, he saw what looked like land and he fell in a lake. And then what happened? Everybody laughed. And Yudhishthira said, stop laughing. He's a king. He's the son of Dhritarashtra. He's a royal family member. Don't laugh. Not nice. Krishna said, laugh. Because Krishna wanted the battle. And he wanted to agitate the heck out of Duryodhana. It worked. So there they are. The palace, the kingdom is divided to two. You guys go stay in the forest. Now they have a palace that surpasses the palace of Hastinapur. Now Yudhishthira had this bright idea that actually I'm entitled to become the king by law of Manu. I'm to become the king. So he called for a big festival, Rajasuya Yajna. And guess who was the guest of honor? You guessed, Krishna was the guest of honor. So big festival. Duryodhana couldn't stand it. But he was entitled by law to become the king. So the Rajasuya Yajna took place. All the royal people and all the brahmanas and all the this and the that and everybody. And he's now the emperor of the world, officially. Now it's time for Krishna to return back. This is one of the times Krishna returned. So he returned from Indraprastha, heading back to Dwarka. So here's a nice statement made in this section. Kunti says to Krishna, my dear Keshava, you are the supreme soul of this universe. You are always kindly disposed toward everyone, but you especially protect your devotees. From the day that Akrura arrived in Hastinapur, I knew you were thinking of the welfare of myself and my son. Meaning, we heard this in part one, but when this hubbub was going on, Krishna sent Akrura all the way from Hastinapur, all the way from Dwarka to Hastinapur to check it out because he's a minister of Akrura. And when he came, everybody knew Krishna's sending him to protect the Pandavas and Kunti. And so she concludes, I am confident that whatever difficulties we may experience are arranged by providence for our ultimate good, which appears in her prayers that we were discussing the past several days. So there he goes. He's departing for Indraprastha. Now, Yudhishthira has performed his Rajasuya Yagya, and he's officially the king, the emperor rather, of the world. That means Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana and his 99 brothers and his one sister and his uncle Shakuni, they're all subordinate to Dhritarashtra, to Yudhishthira. Shakuni came up with a nice plan. We know the nature of Yudhishthira. He cannot say no to a challenge, to a competition. I know how to cheat him. We'll have a dice game. We'll challenge him to dice, and he'll say yes, and he'll lose. And he'll lose everything that just gained, the whole kingdom, everything. So one after the next. And one of the items, when they won everything, they had to give up everything. You've seen the painting before. There's their weapons and all their royal attire. And so then Yudhishthira was requested to gamble his wife. Now, who can gamble their wife? What to speak of, it's not just his wife, it's all 5 brothers. Anyway, it happened. And then there is Karna, the enigmatic Karna. He was angry at Draupadi because Karna was prevented from competing in the competition to become her husband by Draupadi because you're not a Kshatriya. You can't compete. You're the son of a chariot driver. You're a Shudra. You can't compete. And it was a long, long story. So Karna was in Get Back, moved. There's Dushasana trying to disrobe Draupadi, and you all know Krishna protected her, supplying unlimited sari. And at the end, because one of the things that took place is they had to go into exile for how many years? 12 years. And there was a special deal at the end of the 12 years. What happened? Yeah. Incognito. Unknown. Incognito. You know that word? Cognizance means to be aware. Incognito means no one knows. Incognito. They were supposed to be in hiding. Like, no one knows. So Yudhishthira made a plan. The whole time that they're in exile, Kunti stayed at the home of Vidura. And over on the left, it shows the Pandavas and Draupadi and the different positions they took in the palace of Virat. In the palace of Virat, they took disguises. One took care of the horses, one took care of the cows. Arjuna became a dance teacher, of all things. Arjuna, a dance teacher. And he gave specific dance lessons to the daughter of Virat. And Bhima was the cook. Yudhishthira was the advisor to the king. And down in the lower right, They didn't want, but she insisted she had to be with her husband. So Draupadi took the position of a menial servant. There's a name for menial servants, not just by a person's name. Sarindri is the name of like a menial servant for a VIP, to like a queen. So she became the servant of the queen, and Virat is the king, and Virat's wife Sudeshna had a brother, and the brother was a bad guy. The brother's name was Kichaka. So there's a nice section of Mahabharata where Kichaka, he's there. They've been there for 11 months out of the final year, and he happened to see her one day. He was passing through the palace, because he has another palace. He has his own palace. He was very powerful personality. He was the commander in chief that protected the kingdom of Virat. The king was dependent upon Kichika, and for that reason, he didn't stop him when he did nasty stuff, because he was powerful and he was protecting the kingdom. He didn't want to cross him, so he didn't. So Kichika saw her for the first time, Draupadi. Woo, woo, woo. He became smitten by lust. So he went straight to his sister and said, who is this? And how she become your servant? And she looked like a goddess herself. And how did all this happen? And as they were having this discussion, this servant of the queen came in. Draupadi came in, and the conversation completely turned right in front of the queen. He starts speaking lusty things to Draupadi. You're this and you're that and woo, woo, woo. And come to my palace and everything. I'll give everything. Why do you want to live as a servant? You can become all luxury and yada, yada, yada. And, she was insulted. And she let him know in straight language, very strong, straight language. Back off. This is inappropriate. I'm a married woman. And my husband, she indicated her husband, she's married to 5 Gandharvas, that's what she said, at least in Mahabharata. And you're messing with the wrong lady, because you're going to deal with my 5 Gandharva husbands, and they never lose. You're strong, but they never lose. So stop. And he tried again, and she left. So there's the queen and her brother saying, woo, woo, woo. What can be done so that this attitude can change? And Sudeshna, the queen, said, don't worry, I'll figure out a way that she can come to your palace and you can enjoy with her. Like she was, companion with her brother. So he was satisfied. He went back to his palace. A few days later, the queen made up an excuse. Here's a golden pot. I'm thirsty. My brother Kichika has made some wine. No, they weren't following the regular principle, because devotees don't take wine. But she was ready. She was ready to take some wine. They're ready to do all, in illicit sex and, the whole program. She was a queen, but she didn't follow principles. She would have made a good devotee. So she gave the golden pot to Draupadi and said, my brother has made some wine, and take this to him and bring it back quickly because I'm thirsty. I'm not going to go because you heard him speak right in front of you. He's a nasty fellow. and I don't trust it. And she said, look, you know, you're going on my behalf from the royal palace. Everything's going to be all right. He wouldn't dare insult you. She's a liar. She knew exactly what was going on. And sure enough, so she went and he insulted her. And, he said, someone else can take this golden pot with wine back to my sister, and you stay with me, and woo, woo, woo. And then he grabbed her by the arm. And Draupadi, lady, she's a princess, but she's a powerful lady. She pushed him with all her strength, and he fell to the ground. She went running to Virat's palace to explain to him what his brother-in-law just did. And he ran behind her. And when he ran behind her, her sari was flowing behind her. He grabbed her sari. This is like Draupadi number 2 with someone grabbing her sari. Poor lady. Poor lady. And when she then pushed him again, he kicked her right in front of the king. And, all the assembly in front of the king, the court attendants and everything. And everybody saw and heard. And there's the scene, he's wooing her. Here's the scene where he grabs her right in front of the king. There's the scene where he kicks her and she falls to the ground. And she turns to the king and says, you're just sitting there watching all this. What kind of king are you? You give protection to citizens. This is sinful activity. And, kicking a servant like this is abominable. Do something. You're sitting there silently. You're worse than him, or as bad as him. She's, scolded him severely. And she left. And when she left, in the assembly, Bhima was there. He saw. He's seething. He's ready to crush this guy. Yudhishthira was standing next to him. He just touched his hand and said, I'm sure there's need for you in the kitchen. So Bhima didn't do anything right then. But later, Bhima went to Draupadi to find out what had gone. She told the whole story. Bhima decided, I'm going to take care of this guy. And there's a lengthy, battle scene because Kishika is this powerful, but Bhima is more powerful. So he went to where he was sleeping. He picked him up and thrashed him into the ground and broke his body into little pieces. It was like pulp. The end of Kishika. He was dead. And meanwhile, back in Hastinapur, the intrigue gets exciting, right? Back in Hastinapur, who could do this? Kishika is this powerful hero. There's only one person that could do this. Bhima. And if we can find that their 1 year of incognito, you learned that vocabulary word now, right? Incognito is over, then they'll have another 12 years in the forest. Fantastic. How to make sure that this was Bhima. So the way to make sure they had a plan. They're demons. And the demons can have a smart idea how to steal and do demon things. So they decided to steal some cows from the cow herd in the kingdom of King Virat. Because the king has a kingdom, but then out there's agricultural land and there's cows that are under the jurisdiction of a particular king. So they stole some cows and some valuables of the cowherd people. And then, so the cowherd people sent a message to King Virat. But before they got to King Virat, Arjuna found out what had been done. So the cowherd, the son of the king, Arjuna said, "I'll go with you." He said, "But you're a dance teacher." He said, "You don't know." "Oh, let's go. I have weapons. My weapons are in a tree." They went to the tree. Krishna gathered his weapons and finished together. The son, Uttara, and Arjuna finished all the Kaurava soldiers. Prince Uttara, with the help of Arjuna, defeated the attack of the army of the Kuru brothers, returned to his capital with wealth and cows that were looted from the Matsya kingdom. Now, like, the tension has peaked. There's this battle between the two. So Krishna is in Dwarka, right? Because Krishna had gone back to Dwarka. So a messenger came to Krishna. There's going to be war. Can you do something? So Krishna agreed because he was requested to do so. You go as a peace messenger. So Krishna went as a peace messenger. There's a whole sequence of events. And when he went, because we're focusing on Kunti, when he went to Hastinapur, he didn't stay in the royal palace. He stayed with Vidura. And remember, I'm sure you remember, Kunti was staying with Vidura while the Pandavas were in exile. And she was still with Vidura. So Krishna visited Vidura. And because Krishna's attempt to make a settlement of peace was rejected by Duryodhana without all the details, now Kunti sees that war is inevitable. She has her relationship with her firstborn son, Karna, and she's feeling greatly distressed. She was mortified at the thought that they would soon try to kill each other, her Pandavas and Karna. It was time to tell Karna the truth. Perhaps he could be convinced to join his brother's side. No way. Now Kunti approached him. The first time she saw the youthful Karna enter the arena of Drona's martial exhibition, she knew he was her son. She also knew he was ignorant of that fact. It was painful to see him rivaling constantly with his brothers. Kunti wiped her eyes, glanced up at the sun. Why had that blazing deity put her through such pain? No, she's not blaming him, but it's like very difficult. It had been extremely difficult decision for her to reveal to send him away, and now to reveal she loved Karna, but he would surely find that impossible to accept. Whenever she had contemplated telling him, the fear of his reaction had stopped her, but she tried anyway. Would he reject her out of hand, just as she had rejected him? Now it no longer mattered. She was willing to risk his rejection and anger if it meant saving his life. And boy, was he angry. And he didn't say nice things. He said many angry things. He was with Duryodhana. Duryodhana protected him and has given him shelter and given him everything. They're the best of buddies. I'm not going to go against Duryodhana. I'm with Duryodhana and not with my mother and brother. That was his decision. Now, the battle's about to begin. Duryodhana requested grandfather Bhishma, one of these puzzles in Mahabharata, but a key to why did grandfather Bhishma say yes? Because grandfather Bhishma knew, and he had already informed Dhritarashtra, your son, stop protecting him. You know what he's up to. Stop being his supporter. Pull the plug. He's bad. Don't, Bhima knew. Bhishma knew. But, here's the stopper. He had given his pledge. And Bhishma is one who doesn't break his word. When his father had the pledge from Bhishma that I will not marry and I will not become the king, I will always support the king. I'm very powerful, and my power will go behind supporting the king. And he wasn't going to go against Duryodhana was, and the whole thing. He knew who Krishna was and the Pandavas were. He made two conditions when accepting. One, I will not kill the Pandavas. They're protected by Krishna, so they can't be killed because they're protected by Krishna. So don't expect me to kill the Pandavas. Number two, Karna. If Karna fights, I won't fight. If I fight, Karna's not going to fight. Because he had made a pledge to his father to support the king, but not to support Karna. So the warfare is about to begin. And, this is where the Bhagavad Gita is spoken. The two sides are lined up before the battle. And then there's the battle. And, many, 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 many scenes, many, many descriptions. We heard already the prayers of Queen Kunti. One of the classes we conducted the day-by-day events. On day 13 of the 18-day battle, there was this. Abhimanyu was such a power. Abhimanyu, who's Abhimanyu? Arjuna's son. And who was the mother of Abhimanyu? Subhadra. Wow, you're really quick. Is he correct? You're not sure. You're sure? Yeah, he's right. Abhimanyu is the son of Arjuna and Subhadra. Abhimanyu is the son of Arjuna and Subhadra. And he was 16 years of age, but he was so powerful, unstoppable. They made a plan to have 7 generals in different circles. Vyuha, it's called. He's in the middle, and they were to destroy him. 7 generals against one 16-year-old. It's against Dharma. And to protect, who was there to protect the Pandavas from getting in there and stopping them? Starts with a J. Jayadratha. Welcome back. You know who is Jayadratha? Yeah? Tell me something about Jayadratha. Yeah. There's a long story about Jayadratha. That's another class. So, Jayadratha took the position of preventing the Pandavas from coming in to stop this abuse of Abhimanyu. And as a result, as this is on day 13, at night, on the 13th night, Arjuna took a vow. Tomorrow, day 14 of the battle, I will kill Jayadratha or I'll enter fire before the sun sets. There's another drama in Mahabharata. Krishna reigns and Arjuna killed Jayadratha. It's a long story. Another long story. Gatotkacha was given the assignment by Krishna and Arjuna to battle with Karna, and Karna defeated Gatotkacha. And later, some days later, this is day 17 of the battle. This is Arjuna killing Karna. This is a long story. This is no time for this long story. When Karna's wheel got stuck in the mud, and he's trying to free his chariot wheel from the stuck in the mud position, Krishna pointed to Arjuna, pointed to Karna, said, "Kill him." Karna heard. He said it loud enough so Karna could hear. Karna said, "What are you doing? This is adharma, and you're asking Arjuna to engage in adharma?" And Krishna blasted him. Where was your sense of dharma? The way that you've treated others again and again and again is coming back to you. You're getting the proper kind of treatment. You're a violator of dharmas to be punished. You want just dealing. Where were you when Draupadi was disrobed? Where were you when He was the henchman behind the whole thing. Where's your idea of dharma? You're getting what you deserve. There was a particular weapon given to Arjuna by Indra that had the capacity to sever the head of the person who it hit. And that's what happened. You see on the right side, his head fell to the ground. But his head didn't right away fall to the ground. There's a detail. Remember the detail? Krishna said, don't let his head hit the ground. Use a certain weapon that can carry his head to where his father is engaged in austerities. Samanta Panchaka. You with me? Samanta Panchaka. There's a place where Parashuram had placed the blood of the many, many warriors. Yeah. So that place is considered a holy place, and one who dies in that holy place, they'll attain heaven. So his father, Jayadrath's father, was over there doing austerity. Arranged for the head of Jayadrath's son, the head of Jayadrath to land in the lap of his father. When it landed in the lap of his father, because there was this commitment that the Jayadrath had gotten from Lord Shiva, one who makes your head fall to the ground, their head will break in 7 pieces. Remember that one? You're going to want to read Mahabharata by the time this class is over. I can tell. You want to be able to say yes more. There's lots of details. It's very intriguing. Krishna Dharma's rendering of Mahabharata is really good. The English is not so complicated. It's pretty simple English, pretty straightforward English. And it's pretty true to the Mahabharata story. Krishna Dharma. Das. Nice author. Mahabharata. So the head of Jayadrath went flying and landed on his father's lap. And his father saw the head of his son. He pushed it off his lap and his head cracked. Because he didn't want that to happen to Arjuna. So Krishna protected Arjuna once again. And, some days later, Bhishma died. And some days later, we're not covering that, Ashvatthama came and killed the sleeping sons of Draupadi. Later, Ashvatthama made an arrangement for the Brahmastra weapon to attack the child in the womb of Uttara, who had become married to whom? Abhimanyu, right? Yeah? Just checking. So Abhimanyu, excuse me, not Abhimanyu, Ashvatthama had the idea of leaving no members of the Pandava dynasty left. That was the idea of killing the son and the remaining grandson. Krishna protected them. He sent his Sudarshan Chakra that stopped the invincible Brahmastra. The child was protected while still in the womb. So I didn't include, but we included this in the narration of Queen Kunti's prayers, part 2, where Duryodhana lost in a battle in the final day, the 18th day, with Bhima and he battling with clubs and so forth and so on and so on. So the battle is over. And when the battle is over, once again, it already happened, but it's redone. Now, this time in Hastinapur, Yudhishthira is enthroned as the emperor of the world. The Pandavas return to their kingdom. Yudhishthira is crowned as the emperor, and everybody is heading back from their respective places. Krishna's plan is to return back to Dwarka. This is when Kunti offers her prayers to Krishna. And here's our concluding message. 35 years after Kurukshetra battle took place, Dhritarashtra, this is from the Bhagavatam, Canto 1, chapter. The Mahabharata narration is slightly different. This is now not Mahabharata, this is Bhagavatam, Canto 1, chapter 15. Dhritarashtra and Gandhari had decided to go to the forest. There was some advice given to them by whom? Vidura. Because Vidura was the younger brother, but he gave counsel to his elder brother because he was wise. And the elder brother understood the wisdom of his younger brother. He often worked the other way, but he respected the wisdom. And Vidura had just had a long pilgrimage tour and met Maitreya and had lengthy discussions with Maitreya. Canto 4, Srimad Bhagavatam. Canto 3, Canto 4. Very nice discussion. He came back to Hastinapur, advised his brother, you've been involved in skullduggery and sinful activities, too many things. You have to go purify yourself. Leave this place. Your teeth are falling out and, go purify yourself. You're powerful. You can do it. You're blind, but you're powerful. So he convinced his brother. Dhritarashtra went. Gandhari went with him. Sanjaya went with him. In Mahabharata, it says Kunti went with them. Srimad Bhagavatam doesn't say anything about Sanjaya, doesn't say anything about Kunti, but just they went. And he, Dhritarashtra, was very proficient in anything. One of the things he was proficient was Ashtanga Yoga. There were lengthy austerities. According to Mahabharata, they were there in the forest for 15 years before their body burst into flames in a trance of meditation. Very powerful person. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, because this is about Kunti. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes that Kunti, her method of disappearing, is the Sanskrit word is samsprite, from moving clearly from her appearance or pastimes in this world. She suddenly disappeared. Upararama suddenly disappeared. He suddenly disappeared, according to Mahabharata, in that fire. But there's like the variations between Mahabharata and Srimad Bhagavatam. But this is a nice painting from Srimad Bhagavatam. And Gandhari entered into the fire. And that's it. That's our discussion about The Exemplary Life of Queen Kunti. And you three boys in the front, and this young girl too. You you've been the main audience. There's some older folks behind you, but you've been the main audience. Any comments or questions? Yeah.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Nice class. One question: why Bhishma was against the Karna? What is?
Karna was bad. He was although he was born of the sun god, his demeanor was bad. He had virtue and he had vice, and he didn't know how to properly use the virtue. It became vice. He was severely opposed to Arjuna and the Pandavas, and Bhishma Dev was a great devotee of Krishna, and therefore of the Pandavas. He just, he's anyone that's against the devotees of Krishna. I don't want to be associated with them. I'll be the commander in chief, but don't expect me to fight if he's going to be engaged. So there was discussion back and forth over a period of time, but Bhishma, firm. Anything else? Raghunandan, you had your hand up, no? No? Okay. Okay, go ahead. As a fighter, well, what do you think? Oh, yes, you do. What does Krishna say in Bhagavad Gita? What's said by Sanjaya? Wherever there's Krishna and Arjuna, there's sure to be victory. Isn't it? Yeah. So whoever's better, Arjuna's with Krishna, and he's victorious. He's going to be victorious. Yes, exactly. You know the answer. No, skill? Yeah, Karna has skill. Boy, did he have skill. But he didn't have Krishna. He was anti-Krishna because he was anti-Arjuna. He's therefore anti-Krishna. There's no question. Both. No. Now, the second one is because Krishna wanted the battle. Vinashaya Tradushkatam. He appeared for that one of those principal reasons mentioned Bhagavad Gita. So they had to be wiped out. He's demoniac. This guy's demoniac. He's in the royal family, but he's demoniac. He's got to be wiped. He has to be removed. Attempted murderer. He has to be removed. And and they couldn't stop because he's powerful, and he had an assembly of other powerful people with him, like Karna, and grandfather Bhishma, because grandfather Bhishma made a pledge to his father. So he's got powerful people. A wise Yudhishthira was virtue and wisdom, and when they came back to Hastinapur after Pandu had died, etc., and there were dirty tricks, including the attempted poison of Bhima. Yudhishthira said, "Now is not the time. They're very powerful, so don't mess, because they have their assembled people, and it's not wise to do something. So many people, because he's a powerful, mean guy, and had the support of the Dhritarashtra. Anyway, so they didn't interfere. That's the second reason. What of the two reasons you gave? Okay. Yes, down here.
After the Mahabharata Kurukshetra, is it like Dhritarashtra and Gandhari surrendered to Krishna?
No,
So why Kunti went with them?
that's a separate reason. This is Mahabharata. It's not described in Bhagavatam. It's silent about what Kunti did or didn't do. But in Mahabharata, there were three reasons from Kunti's side found in Mahabharata. One, she still had her sons, and Gandhari and Dhritarashtra had lost all their sons. So the sonless mother, she felt compassion for them. To soothe her grief, Kunti decided, second reason, Kunti decided to accompany the two of them going into the forest because, according to Mahabharata, Sanjaya went with Dhritarashtra because he was blind, and Gandhari had blindfolded, so she went with Gandhari to be her eyes, to render that service while in the forest. And then the third reason was she, Kunti, felt she had been implicated in so many of these affairs. She needed purification. She wanted purification so that she could qualify herself to leave this world and not be implicated in, she was thinking in a humble way, not in a Vaishnava way. She wasn't thinking, I'm free from sin because I'm Krishna's pure devotee. She was thinking because, like what she had done with Karna. She was feeling guilty. So I want to become free from reactant from my misdeeds. That's the third reason. And her sons didn't want her to go. And she went against what her sons, this is Mahabharata. And she went anyways. She was very determined. I need purification. I want to serve Gandhari. I want to purify myself. And she wasn't afraid of forest life. She had been accustomed to it. Just pass the microphone. You don't have to.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. One question had been bothering me about Duryodhana. Duryodhana knows Pandavas are very kind and compassionate by nature from the beginning. So why if he wanted to have the kingdom for himself, why didn't he just ask them and, like what was his...
The proud person doesn't ask, he takes. That kind of intelligence that you're suggesting, he didn't have. Because he's a demoniac person. That kind of intelligence he doesn't have. He's not going to humble himself. He's not even going to consider it. His intelligence doesn't go to a person that's like that. Okay.
Maharaj, could you speak a little bit more about the spiritual status of Dhritarashtra and Gandhari after they went to the forest? What did they attain And what was their inner motivation?
I read something. I have to. My memory is very poor. I mean, I'm senior citizen card. Like my memory is very poor. My memory says, my poor memory says, he attained the kingdom of heaven because he had become sufficiently purified of his misdeeds by the Ashtanga Yoga and the austerities and so forth and so on, but not, a spiritual destination, but an elevated material destination. That's my memory. And their intention was what they heard from Vidura. Vidura didn't advise them try to go back to Godhead because that was not their capacity. It was beyond their capacity, thinking and doing. But purify yourself from your sinful deeds. This is after his meeting with Maitreya, and because he got pure bhakti from Maitreya, and he's already Dharmaraj. So he understood that the audience, the person, his brother, and so purify yourself. You need purification, my dear brother. And it's going to take some time. It's going to take some austerity, but you have the capacity. So he was motivated by and accepted the conclusions of his brother, Vidura. And Vidura didn't aim higher than he was really capable of aiming for. So that's my answer to your question. Okay. But you have to wait because she's got her head.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Bhishma Dev has always been a very enigmatic personality for me.
Bhishma.
Bhishma Dev, yeah, Bhishma. So I understand that he has a role to play in Mahabharata, and he's one of the 12 Mahajans, and his kind of adhering to his vows is instructive for all of us.
Yes.
But I'm also at the same time trying to understand how do we understand that he is in one sense keeping his vows above dharma or above he's kind of because he's supporting the king and that was his vow, but he sees injustice, but he's still choosing to
He did it officially, but not with his heart. And that's what Duryodhana said to him. Bhishma, you have the power to destroy all people in one day. You're not doing it. Your heart's not in it. You're officially accepted, but your heart's not in it. He was like pointing him in the chest. So then Bhishma said what he said with these 5 arrows. And he had taken a vow, I won't kill the Pandavas. Because I can't kill the Pandavas because they're protected by Krishna. So don't ask me. He didn't ask him to, no. Yes, the platform from which Bhishma was operating is not easy to understand. But he's a pure devotee. And so he was acting in this puzzling way, in part, one can say, kind of like, there's a phrase, it covered over with white paint. What's that called? There's a phrase. It's an English, American phrase. Whitewash. Yeah, whitewash. Just whitewash the whole thing. He's just Yogamaya, just doing the Yogamaya thing. Don't worry about it. Blame it on Yogamaya. So, but he's carrying out Krishna's plan. Because he's Krishna's devotee. How he speaks to Yudhisthira and his departure, and as we find in the Bhagavatam, he just wants to see Krishna. So it is puzzling because he's operating on another platform. And what his other platform is, he has values and he's teaching and upholding his values above, you could say, Krishna Bhakti or Krishna Prema. But it's all the while Krishna Prema. That's it. And he wasn't fighting with full capacity because it wasn't within to do so. But he knew that Krishna would protect. So he out knowing, with Krishna Bhakti, with Prema Bhakti, Krishna will protect. I can't kill. And so the sequence of events it's hard to understand. And if one isn't a devotee, it's contradictory. So understand through the lens of he's a pure devotee and everything is to be adjusted according to that. And he's doing things that are for Krishna's pleasure. Everything. Including becoming the commander-in-chief against Arjuna, his dear devotee. And so that he and Bhishma can have this exchange where Bhishma makes Krishna break his vow. It's like, it's a pure devotee position. But he does it in an very unusual way. Lord Parshuram was unable to defeat Bhishma. That's how powerful Bhishma was. And, Bhishma knew. Anyway, the whole... Maybe one day we'll do it. When at one time when visiting in Portland, I was asked by the temple president to speak on personalities in Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 1. It took 2 classes to cover Bhishma. So that's a possibility sometime in the future to do that. Because it's not he's not easy to understand. But the topmost, above everything else, is pure devotion. He's the Prema Bhakta. How he spoke to Yudhisthira, how he wanted to leave this world, and he left this world, and we know where he went.
If I may, just
Yeah, you may.
one comment and one other question.
Okay.
About Bhishma Dev. I read where Srila Prabhupada described that Bhishma Dev, one of his rasas with Krishna was this Ghora rasa.
Yeah.
And it was one of the secondary rasas of
Yes.
Prema Bhakti.
Yes.
And he was extremely eager to see Krishna coming to attack him.
Yeah.
And Krishna was fulfilling this desire.
Yeah. 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 It's still, there's a lot of puzzling features of how he did what he did. Go ahead.
The other question is again about Karna. How is it that, although he was the son of the sun god, that he became bad? Was it simply by his bad association with the rest of the Kauravas?
No.
Or did he become, he didn't know that Kunti was his mother, so he didn't become angry at her until later. What was the source of his animosity?
That's a nice question. And I'll share something with you. There's a devotee that did some research without referring to scripture, but online, the artificial intelligence research. And here's what he came up with. But somebody that's more scripturally inclined said, wait a minute, that's not in scripture. It's a fable, it's a popular story. The popular story, there's some other popular stories that aren't in scripture. I can tell you what some of them are, because I found out they're not in scripture. Here's one of them. Sukadeva Goswami was previously Radharani's parrot. You've heard that one? Of course. It's like, in Back to Godhead magazine, and this Swami and that Swami puts in the writings, and there's no scripture for it. The popular story. ISKCON Desire Tree, and their article about Sukadeva Goswami is in that article. There's no scripture for it. Similarly, there's no scripture for what I'm about to say. In his previous life, Karna was a demon named Dambodbhava. There's this gentleman next to you. He's nodding. He knows the Dambodbhava story. It's a common story. Fiction, or at least not scriptural. And Dambodbhava he underwent great austerities, became really powerful. And he was doing battle with the demigods, and the demigods, wanted some relief. So he had become powerful because he had done austerities, and the sun god, Surya, gave him benediction. He wanted the benediction of immortality. This is how the story goes. And he said, sorry, Charlie, no immortality. So, so then he said, okay, I'm going to do the Hiranyakashipu story. I can't be killed this way, that way. So his was 1,000 armors. The answer was yes, 1,000 armors. And to remove one of the 1,000 armors, the person would have to undergo austerities for 1,000 years. And after 1,000 years, then we'd engage in battle. And if they defeated me, then one armor would go, but they would die. And then I'd have 999 other armors. So he got the benediction. And then that's where he became this demon terrorist. The demigods, help. So they went to the shore of the milk. They did what demigods do when they got a big problem. And so an arrangement was made. It was Lord Shiva that said, don't worry, this will be taken care of. So an incarnation of Narayan appeared in response to this prayer of the demigods as the son of Dharma and what's the mother's name? Forget the mother's name. Anyway, it starts with an M. Anyway, Narayan became the offspring of these two personalities, and then they confronted. He's got a second name, Sahasra Kavacha, 1,000 armors. Dambodbhava get a second name. And then they underwent austerity for 1,000 years, did battle with him, defeated him in battle. They died, and the other one brought them back to life. 999 times. This is this fable. So he's a demon, Dambodbhava. And then so Dambodbhava went to Surya, said, hey, look at this, 999 of the 1,000. Help. And Surya said, no problem. In your next birth, you'll be born with a coat of armor. And da-da-da-da-da-da. So he had a demoniac disposition as well as a divine disposition. Both, from the get-go. Not through bad association, he became corrupted, but he was already bad, and he fit in very well with Duryodhana. because he was abandoned. He had this, the virtuous background, but a demoniac background, and etc. So it was a good match.
We always wonder about the character of some of the great demoniac personalities that appear in Krishna's pastimes.
Yeah.
Because sometimes there's a subtext where
Yeah.
they are actually devotees who are fulfilling some desire of
Something,
Krishna.
So the answer to that's what the fairy tale is, or the fiction story or the popular story is. And there are two researchers, because I'm really focused on the next thing that's coming up for me, which doesn't give me the time to do the research. So two people very thoroughly researching this are going to get back with what the real story is. Now there's something in Mahabharata, and there's something in Padma Purana about the previous life of Karna, but I don't know. I didn't stitch it together, and they're going to take some time to stitch it together. But I've been saying the other because I thought that was it, but research says it's not really it.
I recently heard a lecture by Srila Prabhupada. It's only 7 minutes long, 8 minutes long. He sings Jai Radha Madhava, and then he describes the meaning of the song.
Yeah.
And one of the items that he mentions is that whenever Krishna has any activity, it's always with his devotees. And when he wants to fight, one of his devotees becomes a demon and fights with him. So I guess my question is that maybe not always the case? Sometimes the demons are actually demons.
Well, one answer to that question is, where does everything come from?
From Krishna.
From the source of everything, from Krishna. So those persons that are demons and those persons that are Krishna's devotees that are acting in the capacity of demons, what is the first category? Where does the demoniac tendency come from? Same place. So it depends on which lens you look through. It's one way of answering this. But who is a real demon that didn't become a demon by Krishna giving him the demoniac spirit? Then comes the fall of the diva question, the free will and misuse of free will and all of that. You misuse free will, and that's asura. And there's degrees, asuric degrees. Okay. You want something? Oh, you have an online question. You have something? You want to add something? Go ahead.
Just wanted to ask, but this quality of Kunti Maharani, that she was not holding any animosity towards
It's completely amazing.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask two parts, like how to attain that quality, and some examples from Bhagavatam.
It's simple. Attachment to Krishna. Attachment to Krishna. And then, the this and the that goes. Favorable, unfavorable, seeing with partiality, it goes. Attachment to Krishna. And there isn't something else.
Are there some other characters in Bhagavatam who has a similar quality, Maharaj?
Has what?
Same quality, like
You want another character in the Bhagavatam that has a similar quality? Prahlad Maharaj. Ambarish Maharaj. He was very patient, or your person online is very patient. They don't have a choice.
Guru Maharaj, this question is from Anusha Mataji. It's a one comment and a two-part question. The color of Draupadi resemble Krishna, and she is special to Krishna in Mahabharata.
Her complexion is like Krishna's. Yes.
Who is Draupadi in her previous life?
Well, all that's said is from Vyasadeva in Mahabharata, she is a partial incarnation. No previous life, she's a partial incarnation of the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi. Next.
What was her piety to become the dearmost to Krishna and wife of Pandavas?
Well, that was narrated by Vyasadeva and who she was in her previous life. No, who she was in her previous life, according to that narration, is in her previous life she was the daughter of a rishi, and she had a prayer to Lord Shiva, etc., etc. But according to Vyasadeva, his explicitly, she's a partial incarnation of the goddess of fortune. Now, is it possible that that's like in Chaitanya Charitamrita, that one person can be a representation of more than one entity? It's not like she has two souls within, but she's representation of more than one entity. The answer is yes. Okay. You have something further? We can end. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki